welcome once again to MMU's Humanizing Innovation webinar series. Today we have an interesting topic. We'll be looking at cognitive computing for telcos. And let me just start with a brief introduction of where we're headed today in today's session. Cognitive computing has been forecasted to reach a 2 trillion market over the next decade. And companies are keen to understand how they can incorporate cognitive computing to improve their bottom line. Developing an enterprise cognitive solution often includes implementing emerging technologies such as process automation, also known as RPA, recommender systems, service-oriented architecture, machine learning, data analytics, just to name a few. The orchestration of these multiple services that use various formats and data is seen to be a game changer. Nevertheless, its implementation can be quite challenging. So in today's webinar series, we'll be exploring a few topics. Number one, we'll look at cognitive computing, particularly, and we'll be also trying to understand, is there a hype behind this, or there's just more than what meets the eye? And also we'll be looking at how we can go about visualizing the design and implementation of very complex cognitive solutions. And we hope to share from examples, particularly in the telecommunications sector, from our very own parent company, Telecom Malaysia, and our R&D division, which is also referred to as TMRN. With us today, we have two very eminent speakers who are leaders in the space of telecommunications, research, innovation, and commercialization. Allow me to first introduce our panel of speakers. Joining us today are Mr. Sivan Umarpati, the Chief Information Officer of Telecom Malaysia, and Dr. Charlene Tiagaraja, who's the CEO of TMRN. So let me just very quickly go through the profile of our two speakers, and we'll start with Mr. Sivan Umarpati. Mr. Sivan holds an MBA from the University of London, UK, a Bachelor's of Science from University of Newcastle, Australia, where he majored in Information Systems and Computing. His career began with WebGuru Asia as a web project manager. In 2002, he joined Dell Incorporated, where he successfully managed to save the company up to about 10 million US dollars vis-a-vis 3 global BPI projects. In 2005, he joined Shell IT Global, and during his stint in Shell, he was honored with the following awards: Best Global Team Awards for COE Support in 2014, Presidential Global Medal in 2016 for first Global IT Cloud Project, again Presidential Global Award in 2017 for first Cloud BSS Project Delivery. In 2019, he joined TM as the Chief Information Officer, where he took charge of Group IT and Digital, also known as GITD. This was TM's central division for delivery and operations of all IT services, focusing on analytics, process, digital, and innovation. Under his stewardship in TM is transitioning legacy technologies to new generation technologies, where major IT platforms and resources are being consolidated, optimized, and modernized. In 2020, he received 2 recognitions by the Global CIO Forum Committee for his achievements in driving organizational excellence. The World CIO 200 Awards with the title of Next Gen, DX Inspire Awards 2020 with the title of Inspiring RPA Transformation. This year in 2021, Sivan won CIO CDO of the Year from IDC Future Enterprise Awards 2021, Malaysia. And Mr. Sivan is currently pursuing his PhD at Multimedia University. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sivan. And I'm going to go on to introduce very quickly our second speaker, Dr. Shalin. Dr. Shalin Tyagaraja currently serves as the CEO of TM Research and Development, Sendirian Berhad, a wholly owned subsidiary of the TM Group. She is responsible for over 75 million ringgit in revenues to bring in technology and innovation to the group with special focus on advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, IoT, and digital platforms. She was appointed adjunct professor at UTM in 2020 and also serves as a committee member at the Faculty of Science, Material Science at University Putra Malaysia since 2018. In 2016 till 2017, she was appointed as chairman of the R&D value stream for Acacia Communications Sdn Berhad, a unique ASEAN collaboration among 7 leading telecommunications providers in the region. She has over 25 years of experience in the telecommunications industry with several patents and publications to her name. She holds a PhD in computer systems engineering, a master's degree in telecommunications engineering from UPM, and a bachelor's engineering in electrical engineering, first class honors from University Technology Malaysia. She started her career in 1995 as an RF researcher at TM's research division, where she led the team to commercialize a tri-band antenna system for 3G communications. She then moved on to TM Corporate Strategy in 2008 and was later promoted to General Manager Strategic Planning and Business Development for the group. In 2013, she was appointed Head of Strategy for Vats Berhad, and in 2014, she was appointed as Vice President of Technology and Innovation before assuming her current role in 2016. Wow, we have some really high-powered speakers today. Guys, I'm going to be your moderator. Welcome again, Dr. Shalin. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to be your moderator. My name is Saravanan, and I'm currently a professor at Multimedia University, where I teach and conduct research in the area of semantic web algorithms, Web 4.0, and the list goes on. I've served the university for the last 21 years in various capacities. My corporate experience includes working as a systems analyst for IBM World Trade Corporation for 7 years, where I developed financial accounting systems for enterprise-wide accounting application, also known as the new brand name for these things is ERP. At that time, they were not known as ERP. Uh, I'm a Fulbright scholar and also a CAT Intel Senior Research Fellow, which is a research outfit based out in Washington, D.C., USA. I've published over 150 articles, academic journals, and conferences, and I've been affirmed with 30 IPs till date. I've won several awards in research, and lately in 2020, I won the CGMA Academic Champions Research Award on my work in the area of blockchain provenance and trust, and I was the first Malaysian to win in this category. So with us today, we have very prominent speakers. I hope that this is going to be an exciting event, and stay tuned, guys. There's a lot that we're going to discuss today. So I'm going to start the ball rolling by basically asking Mr. Sivan to talk a little bit about cognitive computing and what is this, thing all about. Over to you, Mr. Sivan.
Okay. Thanks again, Prof. Sarah. It's always what do you call that? A pleasure to be part of this, an honor as well to be part of this program. And of course, this is actually done with our sister company and our trusted what do you call that? Innovation education and partner, MMU. So it's always good.
Thank you,
To
sir.
be
Thank
part of
you.
it. All
Thank you
right.
so much for spending your time with us.
Always a pleasure, Chief. All right. I think today we're gonna dive straight into the discussion about cognitive computing, and it's very much centered around something that I'm very passionate about, which is I'm gonna looking to turn Telecom Malaysia into a cognitive telco. So computing telco, cognitive computing and cognitive telco almost a similar thing. It's basically using data driven, what do you call that, building blocks, to drive decision making, more importantly, and also hyper, what do you call that, personalizing and hyper automating the entire value chain. And why we have gone very deep into this now? Why not in the 1960s? Why not in the 1990s? When there was a big explosion about computing, is that we didn't have that the able resources to do it. Cloud computing, distributed architecture, things that has been the buzzword for the last 2 3 years now, has enabled us to have the avenues to do this. And I think that's super important, because if you don't have that, what do you call that, that platform, it's always difficult, right? They said, when they built the Apollo project, they did everything they were supposed to do in 20 years within 2 months. So that's because the platform was ready. And of course, they had brilliant ladies that they came up with the algorithm. So it was a combination of that. But I have to say the platform is very important for us to enable that, and that's why it's now it's a best time for all technology leaders to look at how to do this, and that's why you see an explosion of self-driving cars, autonomous operations. Everything is happening. I was reading an article last night where they're gonna now look into launching the first autonomous, what do you call that, ship, the cargo ship that's just going to go from point A to point B, because there's nothing to do anyway. It just sails, and he goes somewhere, and he just and parks. So I think this pretty exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to our next generation, because if we build the right platform for this, just like how the Steve Jobs and what do you call that, Steve Wozniak of the world have built it for us in our generation. Now it's our job to build the same thing for them. And I believe going forward, our brains are going to be used for something different. No longer we're going to decide what color of shirt to wear, what food to eat, or where to go, because someone else going to make that decision for us using this cognitive computing. And our job is to look at a different thing, more spiritual perhaps.
Chief, it's some very interesting insights there, Chief. I mean, we've been just talking about this cognitive, computing, and a lot of this, data-driven decision making. I mean, I guess it's just, do you think that it's just something that has just happened very recently in the last maybe 10, 15 years, or has it always been there, but maybe we didn't explore enough? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, Prof, if you look at our generation, there's always been this process of using data to make decisions. We used to call it MIS at one time, right? The Management Information System. You give the management the only dashboard, and then they can make decisions. But I think now it has gone beyond that, and I think we have taken it to the next level, where the data modeling, or like what he just mentioned at the intro, the data visualization has gone to a level where it's no longer looking at a segment group anymore. It's looking at individual, and that's where the humanizing technology, or what now in TM we are calling the human-centered technology, is so important. It's no longer looked at it at a very horizontal level. It's looked at it at a very vertical level. How do we map more to the needs of the thing? So was it there before? I think it was very what do you call that, basic at that level. But now we have refined it, and we are remodeling it to a level where it's going to just explode to the next level.
There's some serious stuff going on there, Chief. Just let's quickly rope in Doc Charlene. Doctor, can you share some of your thoughts or experience with regards to cognitive computing, or any applied plans that you have maybe rolled out? I'm sure you've done, countless projects. How has it been, in telecom R&D? Something that you can share with us?
Thank you, Prof. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the kind introduction, and it's definitely an honor to be here. I have a few slides actually prepared to share some of the work that we are doing in this space, cognitive computing. We look at cognitive computing as an array of AI platforms, if you will, to try and solve problems for the community or for the industry. And it is about trying to mirror, I guess, how the human brain works in terms of solving a problem. Now, this is a very, very deep kind of conversation to try and mirror how the human brain works. But I think the first step that we have taken is to kind of take a lot of the repetitive analytics and problem solving away from the humans, digitize it, automate it, use AI, machine learning, and so on. And in a nutshell, all these components actually combine to become cognitive computing, as Sivan mentioned earlier. So it's a hodgepodge of a lot of technologies to be used to kind of solve the problems for the nation. I have some slides. If you can come up, I will walk through it. I wanted to talk a little bit about TMRND first. I don't see the slides, but I can run through.
Okay.
Uh, it's basic because TM needs no introduction. but for us, we thought we should actually explain our role within the TM group, because there's not many telcos who actually still have an R&D arm, to this date. And so we are a wholly owned subsidiary of the group. We were incorporated in 2001, and today we are an independent subsidiary reporting to the group CEO. Our strengths are in connectivity and digital services, and we take pride in creating solutions with a global outlook. Because with digital, Prof, as you can imagine, there are no more geographical boundaries when you need to sell or to push your products elsewhere. You can just sit like I'm presenting here at home, working, and so a digital platform can then serve almost all your customers globally. Is there slides, Prof? Because it may not make sense to talk about some
Yes,
of the
it's
things.
showing already, Doc.
So sorry. So the next slide, I wanted to share this slide. This is the second slide to talk about how TMRN together with TM can contribute towards the digital Malaysia agenda. And I think this has been talked about so much. And to me, the Digital Malaysia agenda actually is an overarching objective predicated on the My Digital Blueprint. And I had to read about this because it was actually a very, very deep blueprint that talks about how to drive Malaysia into a high-income nation. And my very favorite is to become a net exporter of homegrown technologies. And I think this is where my business kind of kicks in. And there are four components, I think, what we bring to the table. One is talent development in core areas. Let me read that. To build digital services for TM's own use case, that's number one. And whatever works and makes sense, we then commercialize and bring to the external market. And I think that's our strategy. And this includes enterprise and the global market. And to make this all happen, we need to develop talent, and we need to put a lot of energies into developing talent in core areas aligned to digital and IR 4.0 technologies, and in this case, cognitive computing. And the last but not least, that ties back to my earlier point about increasing the net value of a nation, is to increase our intellectual property assets. And I think this one aligns a lot, the assets of the company is aligned to the assets of the nation in that sense. And today at R&D, we have clocked more than 2,800 IPRs, and this is patents, copyrights, mechanical designs, and IDs, and so on, and more than 1,400 APIs. And I look at it as a new class of digital assets that we have introduced for TM as well as for the nation. I truly believe a high income nation is predicated on the amount of IPs that we can generate as a nation. And this is where MMU comes in as well, and all the universities in Malaysia where you actually churn out a lot of creative thinking and work. Yeah. And I think that's the only way to export homegrown technology and create a niche for Malaysia, is we need to start creating. Now, if we want to bring in FDIs, right, people, companies to come and invest, we need a thriving ecosystem that brings companies here, or else how do we differentiate ourselves, with our competitors, our neighboring countries and so on. So I'll just keep it, and this is my passion. I can go on and on, Prof. And I know you always say you'll use the bell to stop us, but I had to say this because usually R&D is always looked at as how do you link back into the economy, how do you create value and so on. So my next slide is finally to answer your question, Prof. How is cognitive computing, or the array of technologies surrounding it, being applied by TM? And just to give context, on average, we run about 15 concurrent projects for TM a year, and almost all of it with a very clear AI, machine learning, and cognitive computing kind of elements. So I'll talk about 3 use cases, if you can see them on the slide. And the first one is SWIMS. It is a Internet of Water solution for water companies. And this was something that we've brought to market already, and we've got clients on it. I'll talk a little bit more about that. The second use case is Petro. Now that is a next generation cable cut detection platform with AI capabilities. This one is something that we built in-house for TM's internal use case. And the third one is FORCE, which is a workforce management platform that, and this is interesting because we built it for internal TM. And then when we saw it was very relevant for other industries as well, and we then brought it out, and we have some clients on it. And actually, TM FORCE, which is the workforce management platform that we built for TM, is something my team is working very closely with Sivan, in rolling it out within TM, and I'm sure we can share our experiences in actually bringing it to market, and all the challenges that we have, Sivan, in actually commercializing and getting new technologies within any organization. So I'll deep dive, Prof. There's 3 use cases. I'll deep dive one by one. If there's not enough time, just I'll rush through it.
Sure, go ahead, Doc.
So the first one is SWIMS. It is an Internet of Water solution, and I'm very excited about it because it leverages massive IoT to modernize and improve efficiencies in the water industry. And when we were starting this project with our client, there were 3 main points in the water industry that I didn't know, but I would like to share with the audience today. And we take it for granted because water, just open the tap and there's water. Except if you live in Selangor, and then Selangor, we all know how how there's always no water. So anyway, 3 pain points. The first one is visibility of usage, because the water meter readers take. In a nutshell, this company will only know usage at the end of the month, 30 days. They wouldn't know the usage every hour and so on. And actually, it's important because usage-based pricing, it could be the norm if you use too much water in the day or at night, and then to regulate flow and so on. The second most, the biggest pain point is non-revenue water. And this is a terminology I just learned as well, because it means that water that is cleaned and pumped out of the logi, because there's a lot of resource used to clean water and then pump it out. But almost on average, 30 to 40% of water is lost due to leakages, old pipes, little leaks that we can't see with the naked eye, but it's leaking due to leakages and theft. So that's a lot of, the ESG component of it. Water is such a valuable resource, and there's a lot of water loss after it's being pumped out. So it's very expensive. And in some states, it can go up to 70% of non-revenue water. So this is incredible. The third pain point was manpower productivity. And with digital meters, we can, or this organization can better deploy high value jobs. Now, our client managed to increase visibility up to 300% and can now detect leakages using sensors and AI to form faster detection and restoration, saving them millions. Now, this is just an example of how AI, and in some sense, AI leveraging how the human mind works to improve water quality distribution to the rakyat. I'll jump into the second use case, and this is Petrol, something that we have built for internal TM, and it's how we applied AI and IoT to provide early warning alerts where TM's infrastructure has a high risk of being destroyed. Now, just to give you context about this, roughly 50% of TM's network outages are due to third-party contractors, doing civil works and then accidentally cutting the cable that's running underground. And we all can relate how frustrating it is, when you have no internet. Internet it's like the air that you breathe. You don't really think about it until it's not there, and then all hell breaks loose at home, kan? So naturally, it's a major inconvenience to our customers and an operation nightmare for a telco. So what we did is we applied a dash cam and of course object recognition capability to automatically check if there's a civil construction work that is unregistered happening along the roads, and then overlay that with information on where our underground cables or even our overhead cables are, and then apply AI to assess the risk, how close it is that construction having like the digging machine that has potential, or is it just with a chunkle? Then we know no worries, And then we send the alert back to the network operations team for them to investigate and do how they used to do. And we have I'm happy to note that we have passed the proof of concept or proof of function stage, and we are looking forward to a nationwide rollout very soon. So the third one, which is a combination of, from leveraging workforce management for TM and then bringing it out to market, which was brought to market with our enterprise team, TM1. So we have several enterprises using Force today, and each of them are using it slightly differently. Most people kind of underestimate the complexity of managing workforce. People think it's a very simple thing, it's just sending, your trouble tickets or your job orders to the right person and so on. But the complexity is when you have a lot of, infrastructure nationwide, 2,000 teams. How do you route the job orders to the right team at the right time for the right output and for the right impact? Now, all these things have different elements. I'll give you an example, Prof. I'm rattling on because I know I don't have enough time. I know Steven is going to jump in. I'm going to let him jump in, but I'll give an example. I'm trying to bring it closer to maybe, the student life. When I was a student, I can imagine. Imagine you're living in MMU campus and you suddenly, I don't know why, malapetaka, you have a leaking pipe in your bathroom, you have a blown light bulb in your room, and then your door handle broke. Let's say 3 things happen at the same time. So you call your facilities manager and you say, hey, I've got these things to happen. So imagine your facilities team who then has maybe 10 workers working for him, and he needs and imagine if he gets it from 10 students who live in all floors, all blocks, and you have campus nationwide. It's a nightmare. And I think Steven can for TM, it's like a lot of work orders coming in. So the facilities manager now needs to sort all the complaints nationwide, needs to prioritize them, needs to assign them to the right team. And imagine you need a plumber for the leaking pipe, you need an electrician for the wiring, and you need the mechanical guy for the door handle. So these are three different teams with different skill sets required. They need different tools. They need different spare parts. So imagine if the guy, or if I was complaining and I wasn't clear with my complaint. Now this facilities manager will need to send his team to my room in campus, check to see it's a spare light bulb 60 watts, not 20 watts, and we call that in telco double truck roll. One truck roll to come and just see what's going on and get the right inventory and stuff, and then the second truck roll to actually bring the right spare parts and so on. So it's a waste of resource. So all these, and of course, for any organization, we want to optimize and reduce double truck roll. And so how do we get all this information so the guy that needs to come has the right tools, has the right light bulb, has the right vehicle? Because if he has to carry a ladder, he needs the vehicle to be able to carry the ladder on. He cannot go on a motorbike. And I can see Steven smiling because that's the headache we are having. Yeah. And let's say you have your plumber free. All the plumbers are free somehow, but there's not enough electrician because all the complaints, because there was a lightning strike, all the electricians are picked up. So the complaints from your students will be slow. Kan, my bulb is not the change. Oh, very slow, very slow. But you have resources, which is your plumbers sitting down doing nothing. So, and I think this is the complexity of workforce management that we all take for granted. And this is where, worked with Sivan and my team and R&D, we try and optimize and digitize the entire process, because there's a lot of checks and balance that needs to happen with inventory. Then somebody needs to order for things to make sure there's always light bulbs and so on and so on. So automating is very, very key, and we find organizations have different agendas and wish lists, cost savings, or is it faster delivery? So with all that, the algorithms are different. This is where cognitive computing comes in, because you need to choose the right algorithms to suit the problem statement. So on a positive note, we are happy to report end-to-end digitization has happened. Of course, we are continuing to grow. We have seen improvement in handling time. On average, we're looking at a 40% improvement in productivity, eliminating a lot of the mundane routing work and so on. And with digital and with mobile communication, we can actually communicate like on real time to all the field agents. So let's say there's a pipe pecah that is like flooding the campus. At least then you can route these guys, like urgent, come now, and everybody can go to this mega problem. In the past, you need to go back to the central office, take your ticket, and then go out. Nobody picks up a phone and so on. So that's it, Prof. 3 examples of how we are applying technology to help, hopefully, to make life and business easier for a better Malaysia.
Some really awesome stuff there, Doc. And one of the things that you're talking about, right, really took me back, 9 years ago to Pantai Dalam, lah. So they had some works. I think Chief also can, probably very familiar with this territory. They had Shabas go in, and then they, digged up a hole in the center of the, 4-point junction, which goes up to Pantai Dalam. They did some digging there, and then subsequently it was covered up, and then Maxis came and digged in the same spot. And then subsequently again another, I think it was PNB, they came and actually laid something. So I think the same place was dug up and surfaced and resurfaced and dug up again multiple times. So I really can see the value on your petrol use case just now. I know it's really some interesting stuff there. But for us, the drivers, we don't really drive very fancy cars, and every time we have to go through those holes, it's very painful. Every single time. So I don't know how. I think JKR or whoever the group is, they have to come and resurface, and they don't do it immediately. It takes, 1, 2 years to get the road surface. So, that's a nightmare lah for all of us, including the pedestrians. And I used to remember when I was riding a motorcycle, back in my early days. I tell you, going into those holes, really throws you off your bike. It's very, very painful. And I can see a lot of value there, and your swims, and the other example that you give was really spot on, Doc. Thank you so much, Doc, for your very interesting insights. I'm just going to go back to Mr. Sivan. Like, he's got, I don't know how many. This guy, Mr. Sivan, he's black belt, Six Sigma, you name it, like, he's been there, he's done that, lah. Mr. Sivan, is there anything that you want to just give a shout out on your expertise? Over to
Yeah,
you.
I'm gonna touch on something that to paraphrase what Doc Shardin mentioned just now. For us to really become a net importer of of the new technologies. Whatever the technologies are, whether you want to sell a hardware, a software, a service, or a solution, you need to have the talent. And I think one of the areas that I have to say that we are very fortunate to trailblaze was this technology called RPA, or robotic process automation. I'm going to just quickly touch a little bit on that, but I just want to finish up that conversation with Doc Shalin by saying we have to do all those things. We have to juggle all those things, get the right plumber, get the right electrician, and the technician for the right cost. I think that's important, right? There's always also another lever, which is the cost lever, or the feasibility lever. So I think that's another big challenge that all of us are having, and that is why for us to become competitive, always people try to look at us to become the next Finland or the next Norway, or the next Sweden. We don't have to be the next Norway or Sweden. All we have to become is probably the best that we can do here in this region. Let's do that first, right? And then we can look into leapfrogging to the next level. So with that, a technology that I believe that is going to be able to put us in the forefront, and that's the RPA. So we can have that deck up, and I'll go through very quickly. I know there's going to be a few other Q&A sessions that we're going to have. All right. So before we go into the gist of it, I just want to give an introduction about this RPA, which is fondly known as robotic process automation. A lot of this, the buzzword on RPA has been happening for the last 5 or 6 years, especially when the government said Malaysians are not ready for the 3D job, right? So Malaysians prefer to move into a more value based, what do you call that, employment, uh, pencil pushers. I guess that's one way of putting it. But we want to now use technology as a forefront on enabling this. So what is RPA? So RPA stands for robotic process automation. In simple, it's replacing humans activities and doing the simplification and automation of it in via software robotic capabilities. Simple as that. And why is this important? Because as you know, more and more things have become digitalized. I was told now that you don't even have to fill up anything at the National Registration Center. I'm waiting for that. I want to go for the next. I want to go and exchange my what do you call IC and say if I can do this. But if it is what it is, then everything that we are doing today is digital native. And when it's digital native, you don't need now to have people to eyeball things. The same things that the people are doing can be done by the software. And why is this important? We still have. I want to say, there was a survey done with government agencies and many MNCs and GLCs, and they still have 70% of people doing manual work, manual, redundant, and mundane work. And this is approving something, eyeballing something, scanning something, or even building a what do you call that presentation from Excel spreadsheet to PowerPoint to dashboards. It's still happening, 60 to 70% of the work. And this is the type of work that we're doing here has very low value. and this is what can be replaced by RPA. Now let's go into what we have done in TM, because as I mentioned, we did have a major program that was sponsored at group wide. That would mean everybody was there. So if we go to the next slide, we'll talk about how we have achieved this. So the first one is, in order for things to happen, we had to make this digital workforce or this digital employee to have a personality, an avatar. So we call this avatar or this program as Robin. Why Robin? We were not what do you call that, stealing from the rich and giving it to the poor, but we went on the concept of like Batman and Robin. So Batman is the main character. He's the, what do you call that, who does all the thinking. Then Robin does all the dirty works. So that's basically what it is. So that's what Robin is all about. Now the avatar that you see here is a grown-up Robin. When we started off, it was like a, just think of it like a small robot, right? And he was doing very basic stuff. Now it has grown up. It has become an adult, an adolescent, what do you call that, character, and he's doing more things. So why do we need Robin, or why do we need RPA as a whole? It doesn't sleep. It works 24/7, right? Things that we had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning after what do you call that, a program is completed, to do the reconciliation. Now we can get this the Robin to do it, and you know what? Robin's accuracy is even higher than ours. And that's another big gain, and it can do 5 times faster. In many programs, things that took us 4 to 5 hours to be done was done in minutes. So, and again, it requires only simple maintenance. You don't have to worry about the person. Had to go for leave, and for holidays. It just works tirelessly. So this is what is important. So the Norwegians and the Finlands and the Finnish, they've been doing this for the long time, and we have the same opportunity on our side. Going into the next slide, if we may, it now actually talks about what have we gained. And this is very important to a lot of the audience here, because now this program of RPA is also available for commercial use. We have done not one, but we have done almost what do you call that, 40 over programs group wide. So we're not talking about doing it at the level of just for IT, where he does the reconciliation reports and whatever not. We have done this for customer service team as well, and we will share that use case in a bit. We have also done this for our network organization, our finance organization, you name it. Everybody in the organization has really embraced this capability, and now everyone is in. What is the outcome? 240K hours shaved off. So this is equivalent to almost about 100 FTEs. That's huge for a lot of organizations, and more to come. More programs is in our funnel. I think we have 60 more programs in our funnel that we're going to roll out later. We have now got 9 certified RPA, what do you call, developers. And this is an interesting point, Prof. When I speak to the some of the SIs and I tell them we have 9, they say you don't need us because we have 3 or 4 certified. So we have now more people, and they are not really certified developers. There are also some of them who are certified business analysts. So they go in and they do the analytic work that needs to be done in order for us to build the thing. And then this has now driven a massive cost avoidance. Now we are looking to make this as one of our key projects as well for 2022 and beyond. But RPA now is definitely here to stay. We go to the next slide, which now will talk more about how we have done this for one of the most complex organization ever, customer experience. What do you call? Doc Charlene will agree with me. You can tame any of that organization with technology. When it comes to CX, it's all about human interaction. It's all about human-centered thing, and that's very important for us to do it. Now, again, the idea is, when I had this conversation with my sister, she used to work for TM, and she was a customer experience personnel as well. And she was asking me this question, about 8 years ago. Hey, what's going to happen to my career? I said, it's going to be replaced. Get ready. The robots are going to take over. So it's not happening so fast yet. But what's happening though is it's making their life easier, just like what Doc Charlene was saying. You don't now need to take tickets and map them together. The system is doing it for you. The RPA and Robin are doing that for you. They are also looking at not only from a segment of the trouble ticket management and all that, even at the level of making sure the customer knows what to choose, what do you call ask, the right questions when it comes to troubleshooting and all that. Everything now is coming into play, and here is where the component of RPA and the component of Robin, as we fondly call it, is now really enabling the digital experience and the enhanced customer, what do you call that, experience to our customers. So it is not difficult to get this going, and we now have the methodology and also the know-how of how to do it. And as I said, we are now working closely with our partner TM1, our enterprise arm, to enable this at a commercialization level. And I'm telling you, the return of investment is huge. The cost that you pay to do this versus how much you shave off from human cost is huge. And I'm not saying this is not one of those tools that it is out there to take out people's job. It's not. It's completely different, and that's what we're going to cover in the next slide. So if we go to the next slide, we are quickly covering what does this mean. You are giving me what do you call that, a tool, a technology that can actually take away human what do you call that, the needs of human capital. No, it's not. The idea here is that we started to embrace this in GITD, or in the group IT and digital, to enable us, our human capital, to build a higher value, what do you call, chain in their employment. So we can't just send people for training. You still have to have people to do what they need to do. So what we did was we actually used this what do you call tool to automate the work that they're doing. So now we can send them to do the crazy and exciting things that Doc Charlene and their team does, which is AI, cloud computing, cognitive enablement. So that's what it is as a nutshell. So it is still centered around people, process, and technology, and the important building blocks of this is you cannot automate, you cannot make it cognitive if you don't simplify or improve the process. You cannot do what you call lift and shift. This is a complete rip and replace component. So that's what we went on to do. So by doing that, we now are able to get almost 100 plus of my that represents about 20% of my staff force to be retrained, reskilled, and now they're doing further exciting things in which it's not only simplifying and automating. Now we're taking RPA to the next level, which is cognitive. And that part is where we are going to drive even our capability of autonomous, what do you call that, troubleshooting, self-healing capability. All this is already there. But you got to start with the basic stuff. Okay, the basic stuff is you got to simplify and improve the process, and from there you automate it. Then eventually you learn to what do you call that, tweak the system to such a way, such place where it can start making intelligent decision going forward. So that's what is it. It is in a nutshell, Prof. So I think if you look at the next slide, it sort of gives us a if we can go to the next slide. Sorry, this slide. Sorry, it gives you sort of a landscape of what is there for everyone to embrace. And I'm telling you, we didn't do massive investment. The way we did was we did think big, but we started small. So that's the same approach I believe all of our audience can look forward to. It is many people say, is it a hype? Is it a, what do you call that? Another white elephant program? It is not. It's huge, and we have also won two awards this year alone for this RPA. One was the best digital program award from Inspire, and we also got the W Media Award for best what do you call digital program. So we have won great awards. I have to thank my team for this. They really jumped into this with blind faith. I have to say, but it was data driven. We had the data to push it, and I think that's what has put. So that's what it is, Prof. What do you call that? In short, so looking forward to more of our colleagues and the people who are in this what do you call that seminar who can join our fraternity as RPA builders.
I guess. Thank you so much, Chief. I think after your, thought sharing just now, I think a lot of people are just going to jump in. You're going to get emails left, right, and center. I'm sure. Even after the first webinar that we had, actually that was actually our inaugural webinar. You guys kind of like gained so much traction. A lot of people were asking, how do I get in touch with them? So I'm sure we're going to be busy, routing some people to you. It was one very interesting point, Chief, that you brought up just now. I think maybe Dr. Charlene can also come in here. There was a study done by Deloitte and McKinsey, and they were talking about more than 70%. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, Yeah, but 70%, they reported 72%. They say 72% of these jobs are actually very low value jobs. And the only way that people are going to still retain employment is to move up the value chain, kind of move up the value chain, do things that are less operational and high value creation. And I see that being a problem because very last 2 years I've been going around talking about this, especially in the finance and accounting fraternity, because these are the people who do a lot of things manually. I'm sure you have a lot of problems with finance, right? So when I say finance, oh my God, so a lot of those nightmares in finance, basically because a lot of things are actually quite operational, and we have actually seen a lot of new technologies taking over, and even back in IBM when I was there, we're actually migrating to all these things that is better known as ERP today. But 70%, Chief, is a huge number. I don't know. I mean, are you guys seeing that number declining? Is it going to decline in the next maybe 5, 10 years with this RPA and cognitive going on, or do you see it happening earlier? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, if I could just jump in, this is definitely spot on, Prof. We will see a shift in jobs created and a shift in jobs that are no longer relevant. And this is not new, actually. If you go back to the past, and I remember I was tells my age. When I started working in TM, there were flaws. As even I think you can, flaws and flaws of people typing. Yeah, typing the memos, typing the minutes, and so on. So they were like typists. And when computers came in with Windows being, more easily accessible, and the Office, Microsoft Office, and so on, of course the typists were worried what is going to happen to their jobs. But if you see, there was a transition, and of course companies, were great, train them how to use, and so on and so on. And so we saw that fear of losing jobs, kind of subsiding, and then people being trained and upskilled to take on more jobs. Obviously, in today's environment, it's a little bit more tech focused, but I think the transition will be the same. We do not need workers to design algorithms. Not all of them need to do that, but they need to learn how to use the technology, which is like how to use PowerPoint and Microsoft Office and so on. So I think if people are open to change and to learn, it's a natural progression. People will morph out into higher value jobs.
Thank you, Doc. I think when smart tech came in, right? Back in the day, you used to pay toll, You go there, and the toll queue was just so long, and smart tech came in, and then RFID came in. People were just zooming through those toll gates. A lot of people were basically asking me, what's going to happen to the jobs of those, toll gate staff. Where are they going to go? How are they going to be, redeployed somewhere else? How are they going to be repurposed? There's a lot of these questions was coming about. And I kept thinking about that because I'm looking at a little bit more high end kind of thing in finance and banking, and then what Chief was talking about earlier, on the customer experience. Every time you call into the call center, you get press one for English, press two for bus. By the time you get to your problem, I mean,
You
like,
forget. You forget what you're asking. Asking for.
you even forget why you made the call for. So it's really
Maybe that was the point, Prof.
Yeah,
So you
confuse the technology. Right.
I can really see the value in what Chief was talking about. And it's like almost 11 o'clock at night. And one time I was in Singapore, I had forgotten to inform Citibank that I'm flying out of the country because you want to use their credit card. You got to call
Yep.
in. You can't do it on the system. You can't do it online. You got to call in, and then there's some sort of a biometric. Then your mother's maiden name, whatever. All the kind of processing
Security
is
check.
done,
Yeah.
and I was almost at the gate waiting to get into the aircraft, and still I couldn't talk to the customer service people because they just kept me going and going and going. So like talking about customer experience, all these nightmares are still there in my head. you know I dread to pick up the phone and call those numbers. So I mean, what Chief was sharing just now, I mean, is fantastic. And cost cutting, I mean, a lot of, I mean, forget the cost cutting part. It's just that the customer experience part. We all don't want to be moved around in the call, sitting there 9-10 minutes, and you don't get your problem solved.
Yeah.
So Chief, your thoughts on that, Chief?
Yeah, yeah. Prof, I wanna talk about something very close to what he just mentioned, and how an organization have made automation as a process of, improving NPS. And we don't have to go too far. Yeah? It is actually the first, what do you call that, automated SOS for car trouble, which was done by, what do you call that? If I'm not mistaken, is by Mercedes, and that's why the NPS is so high. So you don't call someone, you don't call the tow truck, you just press a button in your car, sends an SOS, and somebody will call you back immediately. And they make sure within an hour something happens. Now that's platinum standard of service. But that's the basic way of doing things, which negates the issue of you pressing one for this, two for that, and add in your, what do you call that, security code, so many things, right? When in today's day and age, right, all these capabilities is there. Now, I wanna touch a very interesting point that I think that you brought up about, and what Doc Charlene also was touching upon, which is what's going to happen to the 70% of those people who are doing your basic job. Okay. And I attest to the one of the challenges I threw to my secretarial team. How do you move up the chain, right? And there are opportunities. I told them, why don't you go into an RPA program? Then what's going to happen is all the secretaries in the organization will definitely come down to you. So you're going to become an SME of that, right? So that's the whole idea, right? There's always opportunities, and it's as a leader, as like what Dr. Shalin has mentioned, spot on. We have to embrace this. We have to what do you call that? Become the change leader. We have to really spark that needs and changes so that it goes on to happen. If it doesn't happen, we're going to end up always being a second world country. We'll all keep developing and developing and developing. We'll never go up the chain. So the biggest, I think, challenge that we have, how do we make a machikia of selling nasi lemak, right, embrace data driven capability? And that's I think once we do that, because I don't think so, Prof, you must attest to this, we don't want to lose nasi lemak, we still want to have nasi lemak, right? But how are we going to have it in the future, right? That's going to be important. Like I know, when it comes to food, we are very fond of it, and we can use that as a what do you call it, an industry mover, because we tend to always look for the right food. And I'm very very what do you call that, positive and very hopeful that we will. Just like what we have mentioned, we were the first, one of the first countries in the world to go autonomous on, filling up petrol. And this, if you go to some other countries, even when you go to first world countries, there are still pump attendants, but we have now moved on to it. We have embraced Facebook, like it's part of our lifestyle, right? So it is there. It is just that we need to have the right vehicle, the right what do you call that, the right information. And I think we can really move that 70 plus percent of people who are on the low value chain, what do you call that, jobs, to mid level and also high level.
Awesome points, Chief. Thank you so much for the input. We have one very interesting comment from Prof. Kenzo Takahashi. This is from our Facebook feed. He
Okay.
says, it's nice for us to listen to the opinions of leading people in Malaysia. Above all, we have dispatched students to both MMU and TMRN for their internship studies. We would like to evolve the friendship relations between Malaysia and Japan. So it's a quick shout out from our Prof. Kenzo Takahashi, and he is actually quite happy that we have this collaboration going on. He kind of loved the idea of listening to you guys, and he wants to keep that relationship going. So I think there's some very nice comments coming through. So
Thanks,
going,
Kenzo.
thank you, yeah, thank you, Chi, thank you, Prof. Kenzo, for your
Thank you. Thank you.
just going to go very quickly to I mean, you guys have already answered the high part. I actually wanted to ask you that, but you guys have already covered that. You beat me to it, okay? So now I'm left with another kind of worrying question in my mind, and I thought maybe all our listeners would benefit from this. Some people says, well, yeah, we've got all the automation done, but still we are not hitting the productivity we want. Now, is this really, kind of, just, some people wanting to sell solutions, but they don't really sell a proper solution? You still go back, you've got automation done, but you're still not productive, you're not moving anywhere. I mean, a lot of people still talk about that. And then when you talk about IT investments, and I'm sure Doc Charlene and Chief, you guys probably have to fight with finance left, right, and center. Finance is one group of people. They say, hey, you need money for this? Okay, tell me how this is going to improve, profits, right? So how do you actually, work around that? How do you convince people that, hey, this is really value? This is going to add to the bottom line. I mean, shaving off costs, Chief, you already shared that. But there's this mindset that IT investments, white elephant, kind of that concept. How do you break that? Your thoughts?
If I
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
if so I think that's a brilliant question, Prof. And we how we try and manage it is that for any project that we embark on, we always try to quantify the value that you're going to get out of it, the ROIs, if you will. And it's possible. It usually people will say it's so difficult to quantify an IT project, but I think Stephen and I we can agree that it's possible. And tracking post implementation is very important to close the loop between what you thought you could achieve and then measuring it. And then with data is where you get to convince even the CFOs. And I think the CFOs are very practical people. They want to see data. And when you can show the value of what you have created, everyone will join the bandwagon. Prof, you mentioned about people saying they are not getting the productivity measure as per digital and so on. I think that's a broad statement. I cannot dispute or validate that. But for the work that we have done, even in TM, we can show productivity improvements. Now, it may not be, and this is the best part, and Steven spoke about customer experience, and it's because us as humans, we evolve. What is good today is no longer enough tomorrow. So we can then see that there's a lot more to be done to keep on improving productivity, efficiency, changing process, as Steven mentioned, will then tweak things a little more and more and more. So I look at it as a continuous improvement process, leveraging technology. Don't have to be so high-end technology all the time, just any technology. RPA is fantastic. AI, so you don't everything have to be AI, machine learning, cognitive computing. I mean, that's not necessary sometimes. So I'll pass it to Steven.
Thank you, Doc. Just want just to add a little bit more context again. Maybe Chief Steven can also jump on this. A lot of times they say, "Hey, yes, we have actually automated, like but we're not moving anywhere." Has that happened to you, Chief? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yep. And Prof, and I just want to, what do you call that, close the loop on what Doc Charlene mentioned. It is still at a very nascent level, right? It's still, when you talk about all this AI and all those things, right? Um, when you reach the maturity level, you will do many things. It is still at a very beginning stage, and we just need to embrace as we go. Now, so that's where the relevancy of measurement is very important. If you want to measure them, the relevancy of that measurement is important. You go and measure things that are not relevant, you're never going to get it. Like for instance, if the work is supposed to take out the average handle time, then measure the average handle time. Don't come back and say that, what do you call that? My problem is average handle time has gone down, but my, what do you call that? My customer experience rating has also gone down. I want it to go the next level. Then you have to measure it, holistically. You need to define it at the beginning, and then we need to build things together. Don't come back and say, my job, your job is to reduce the cycle time. We reduce the cycle time, but the customers are complaining, right? So get the relevancy of that to work together. So that's important. Now going back to this, the statement, I've automated, but there's no productivity. Now this is where I mentioned earlier, many times. I think it's just our pre chat before the event started. Many times, what people define as automation is taking manual work and automating them. So whether you do it manually or you do it, in automated, the only difference here that you see is that the activity is now digitalized. So just imagine if you had a form and that form has to be filled, you have to fill up 10 items. It was manual before. Now you are typing it down. I think writing it down is faster than typing it for many people. So you're not going to get any what do you call that improvement. So simplification and improvement of process is important. All right. What you're typing down is already available in that chip that the government has spent billions of dollars. Plug that in, the whole thing will appear in 5 seconds, right? And then you add or what do you call that? Change whatever that is not relevant. That's about it. That's going to be faster. So that process doesn't exist in many industries. I've seen, I always go and say, there are some friends of mine in the industry comes and say, hey, I have done automation. What have you done? I've done this, which is manual, to what do you call that, to digital, or it's now been automated. Say, what is the improvement? About 10% improvement. How much did you spend? Millions of dollars. It doesn't make any sense. That's why the driver for this success has to be feasibility versus affordability. So it has to go around the same what do you call that measurement of success. So my advice to those who are saying I've not seen the improvement in productivity, go back and see what process have you improved. If you have not improved any process, how much you automate it is never gonna make sense.
You kind of hit
Spot on,
the
Chief.
spot on, Chief. I was just thinking about that question because just before our forum, I was talking to some people and say, hey, we're going to have this interesting webinar, and you guys join in, and then they were starting to whine, and say, well, this is not going to work about. So I guess the main take home message, Chief, if you if I may just to kind of put in a nutshell, is that you got to really understand what your processes are first and simplify them to a point where you will see the productivity. It's not so much of a technology solution, but more of understanding how your processes can be re-engineered, kind of, thinking of the pain points, taking them out, making it simple, at the same time, using technology to leverage. And the point that Doc Charlene mentioned just now was make those incremental upgrades, right? Make those incremental upgrades, and slowly over time, you can actually be able to use data to convince your finances that this is actually going to work. So I think that's basically the nutshell, right, Chief?
Yeah, I wanna again what do you call that? Paraphrase it in a very simple way that I always use in many of my presentation, which is if you want to make the technology right, you have to make sure that you must have a very lean organization, many people involved in it. It's not going to make it happen. You're going to have mean processes. Your process has to be mean. It has to be mean and stable. If it's not, you will never be able to have a clean technology. If you take this lean, mean, and clean, what do you call that statement that I always patronage, and you can apply that to Tesla. That's how they did it. He didn't start with 150,000 employees, like what do you call that? Some automakers have made, right? He started with a very core team. Then he made sure the processes are simple so that he can roll out this new platforms of cars, and the technology is clean. And
If I
we
could,
go with that.
just to jump in on this as well, I think we've done a lot of digital transformation projects for, both within the company and outside. It is to add on the process simplification, technology. It's also a mindset shift. Yeah, Steven, I think
Yeah.
we learned this the hard way. The people need to be, change management needs to happen because it is about changing the way you do things. And that is the key pillar for the success of any digital transformation and the value that you will see then, Prof.
Right on. That's why it starts with people. You cannot go beyond that. If the people are not, what do you call that?
And
Centric.
mentally, yes,
Exactly.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. Guys, every time I speak to you guys, I just can't keep track of the time. We're almost up with our time given. But I think there's a quick video that Dr. Charlene would like to share. So
Absolutely. Yes, please.
let's share that, and we'll come back.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen. The future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sivan and Dr. Shalin, for your insightful sharing and very thought-provoking ideas. I'm sure all the listeners would have benefited from today's webinar. I truly learned a lot from the both of you. And thank you once again for taking your time to be with us.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Prof. And it's always a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Dr. Lin.
Take care, guys.
I think we are done, but there's supposed to be a group photo. Let's see.